Hi everybody, this is a quick introduction to modern Perl. It's aimed at people who already know programming but might be new to Perl. Perl 5.3.6 is modern and you can write it to have maintainable and clear code. We'll talk about the way Perl looks today, which is pretty different from what most books and online materials show you. Perl is a scripting language and it runs without any noticeable compilation steps. It's dynamically typed, interpreted language, and it's garbage collected. If you want a blitz tour of Perl and you know a few languages, this is where to start. The Perl command both compiles the source and executes the intermediate form, but it doesn't show this step and it doesn't create any output file in this process. It's basically C in syntax, yet it can do some things with remarkable ease, such as text processing. It also has weird variable names. You can experiment with code from the command prompt. This is good for experimentation, but this is not what this course is about. Variables really don't have data types like most programming languages. It's not the Perl way to think of variables as being a type such as integer or string. Variables are automatically converted to whatever type that's needed. This is known as coercion. Variables can be reassigned between numerical values and character values at any time. In other languages, you may use null, but in Perl you use undef, U-N-D-E-F. There's a strange variable called $_. This looks rather strange. For 1 to 5, we know what that means. Say we know is a print statement, basically. But say without any parameters? This $_ is the default scalar variable. This is the same thing, except when you use say without the $_, the $_ is implied. Variables are always one of these three things only: scalars, array, or hash. I'll explain more about scalar later. Context. It's surprising to newcomers that Perl does different things based on whether the data is a certain amount or the operation and data are a certain kind. This means that operations on strings treat every variable as if it were a string, and operations on numbers treat all the operands as numbers. A subroutine will behave differently if it were passed the variables as an array or as a singular value, known as a scalar. The sub will also behave differently if it expects the results of calling it in what is known as scalar context versus list context. We'll talk more about this later, as context is fundamental to Perl. Perl is a procedural language. It doesn't require a main function, and you can just run the lines of code as they occur. Functions are implemented with the keyword sub. The last statement of the sub is the return value. Let's put parentheses. Let's try it without the semicolon. Arguments like Python can receive data that is either numerical or character-based. As you see here, we didn't specify that it was numerical or character. It could receive either. Documentation. The documentation to Perl is done very well, though it seems to be a mystery to beginners. The thing to remember is Perl doc. If you search online for anything, start your search with the word Perl doc, such as Perl doc open. Perl itself comes installed with a Perl doc command, which is accessible from the terminal by saying Perl doc Perl, for instance. Or if you're looking for a function, such as the function open, to open a new file, Perl doc -f open. -f means I want the documentation for the function named open. The documentation available in Perl doc is massive. This is the table of contents. I prefer Perl doc Perl, but this is just an indicator of all of the topics that are covered. Yeah, Perl doc Perl, which I said I prefer, gives you just the names of the topics, where Perl doc Perl TOC gives you not only the names but the subtopics. This is much more convenient for me because if I'm looking for a topic, I just scroll through this stuff and I'll say, look, a cheat sheet. Right here, Perl cheat. Okay, what does that mean? That means I have to say Perl doc, Perl cheat. And there's your cheat sheet. In Perl doc Perl, you'll find other goodies such as Perl doc Perl RE, which is a tutorial for regular expressions. Tutorials. Perl RE toot. Guess I got that wrong. Perl RE toot. Perl regular expression tutorial. This is also massive. Even in itself, Perl isn't only about regular expressions and text processing, but it's very good at it. It's a general purpose language. The next thing to try is Perl doc Perl intro. I'll show that in Perl doc Perl first. And if you scroll down a little bit, if you're new to Perl, you should run Perl doc Perl intro. And it also says it right here, Perl introduction for beginners. Please read this. If you read nothing else in the documentation, just have a look at Perl doc Perl and Perl doc Perl intro. Perl doc also gives you the documentation of any installed modules, and it comes pretty much in the same format as the default Perl doc. Object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is an add-on to Perl, and it's not a very good one. Perl is not object-oriented. The latest Perl now has class as a first-class citizen, so that might change. Perl has had for a long time made available functional programming ideas like map, filter, and reduce, but it's not widely known, although advanced programmers use it all the time, especially map. Perl often doesn't use any import, include, or library code at the beginning, since a lot of the stuff such as I/O is made available by default. Perl's error handling is done by a quirky reserved word called die rather than exit. It's possible to do the equivalent of a try-catch for errors and such, but it's not used like it's used in Java and Python, so not nearly as frequently. Perl does have a package manager with a surprisingly huge amount of things that can do everything, such as JSON, web frameworks, logging, functional programming, string processing, even AI and data science. This is called cpan, and the packages are in cpan.org. cpan comes with Perl. You can say something like cpan installed and the name of package, perhaps cpan, just the name of package might even work. Just go online, go to cpan.org, and it will list trillions of packages. Most code in this tutorial doesn't use external packages because they're not often needed. Testing. Testing is done with simple commands using a module called test::more. So I'll just show you cpan to install that. And cpan is very verbose in installing things. Some things are a little bit bigger and it will take like 4 times as long. So that's not too bad. There's an alternate tool called cpan-m. So instead of cpan, you can just do cpan-m, test, and the same thing. So that shows you it's up to date. So it would have installed it, but it's already there. cpan-m is not built into Perl. You have to install it. So you have to use cpan to install cpan-m. Please go to cpan.org and look for cpan-m. It'll install things quicker. Formatting can be done with Perl tidy. And there's a TDY file. There's even a tool called Perl Critic, which will do an opinionated linting of your code. Apparently it likes it. You'll find that most things Perl Critic will complain. There's another simple tool for documentation format called Pod, which will convert embedded documentation to something printable. Pod is the format. You just embed your documentation into your source code, and then you can create printable documentation from it. Perl has a debugger by executing Perl -d. It's crude and it's similar to GDB, but it's complete. There we go. L for list. Break B4 L. Whoops. You can see the breakpoint in 4. And I think it's go or run. See, we're on 4 now. Step. Quit. Crude, I said. Perl plays well with JSON. It has some good frameworks for the internet, but its 1990 history of it being king of the internet is long gone. And so is that way of doing things. It remains, however, the go-to tool for sysadmins who want to just get stuff done quickly with short one-off scripts, and it does a ton of stuff in a few short lines. However, this type of Perl hacking is not conducive to modern software development, and modern software development is what we'll try to concentrate on. Perl is currently changing rapidly. However, they are very quiet about it. The language is dramatically different from the traditional versions of Perl. Version 5.36 is the minimal version that you should use today. However, you'll find most online books, videos, and such use the old Perl style, so it might be worthwhile to seek out modern sources. Programming in Perl. In Perl, you begin with a version declaration. While you can include extra features or imports, you won't need any here. Perl loads most of what you need automatically. For example, with Perl, you don't import libraries just to say hello or to do math. To start, you use the statement use v5 point something. I use v5.36 because it's the minimal reasonable version. Even if you're using a more current version like 5.42, you can still put use v5.36 if you like, or you can put use v5.42 or whatever version you decide you want. The bigger the number, the more features you have access to. I always use v5.36 because it means a lot of things are included, such as the word say. Use v5.36 enables all modern syntax and features. It enables warnings and strict variable declarations. It keeps your code in a modern and clean style. Printing output. Output in Perl is similar to other languages, but sort of simpler. No parentheses needed. So use v5.36, say hello just in quotes. That's it. That's enough. Say automatically adds a new line. Perl inherits semicolons from C. Later we can see that you can write Perl in a C-like way, but we'll try to use idiomatic Perl instead. Getting user input. Perl's input syntax seems a bit odd, as there's no obvious call to a read function, for instance. This is minimal by design. Simple things should be simple. For instance, when the input is numbers or strings, it just works, whether it's a number or a string. Notice functions such as say, print, and chomp can be called without parentheses. In Perl, I'm doing an input by my $x equals less than stdin greater than. That's equivalent to read the value of the input into the variable x. X times x. 33 times 33 is 1089. Variables that start with a $sign hold a single value, and these are known as scalars. Variables may also start with an ampersand for arrays and a percent for hashes. A hash is an associative array. You declare new variables with my without a data type. stdin reads a line from input. Perl automatically converts strings to numbers when needed. There's no casting required. Looking at the code, it's dynamic like Python, but it still feels close to the metal like C. You can embed variables directly inside double-quoted strings, and this is called interpolation. There's no embedding going on here. Let's try one with embedding. You can embed variable names, $x, within double quotation marks. Variables and numbers. A lot of languages make you specify the type, but Perl is dynamically typed, and you can reassign or reuse a variable at any time. All scalars can hold numbers, strings, or references. Perl converts between them automatically. When I say scalar, I'm saying something like this. My $x equals something. So that something can be a number, a string, or a reference. You can even mix them. R times 10 is 320. Default scalar variable $_. The Perl variable called $_ has an unfamiliar behavior. If you don't specify parameters to a function, it uses the default variable. What I mean is that in the function say, without any parameters, it's equivalent to say $_. Notice, I'm saying nothing here. The function say uses the default argument $_, even though it wasn't explicitly mentioned. Let me add that this is not typical to use Perl functions without arguments, but it's handy to know that functions without arguments use this default scalar value. The following uses UC function, which is uppercase, to play with many items in an array. Just forget about the Perl -WE because it's just a way of saying run this Perl code in the single quotes on the command line. My @A, which is an array, equals ha, hi, he, and a bunch of stuff. For @array, say $_, the implied variable, say $_ if uppercase of $_ equals hi. So I'm using say without a parameter, and I'm using UC without a parameter. Kind of confusing to a newcomer. This is just a function call, but in Perl you don't need parameters if the parameter $_ is implied. UC is just another function call. Some languages call it upper or to upper. In Perl, it's UC. It normally has parentheses with it, and you specify what you want to uppercase. But if you don't have a parameter, it just uppercases the default. This is not simple code, by the way. It's just showing you that say doesn't need a parameter because it uses the default, and UC also uses a default parameter. This is not really that normal to use, especially for beginners. Writing a subroutine. Instead of def or fun to declare a subroutine, Perl uses sub. Sub myfunc. Older Perl didn't have arguments in parentheses, but current Perl now is closer to most languages. I'm going to write a program that pretty much does a lot of the things that we just covered. Takeaways. Unlike other languages, there are no headers, no explicit types. Variables are declared with my. Functions don't need parentheses in most cases. Say prints the whole line and no \n is used. Sub defines functions. Perl doesn't use return type declarations. In other words, when you define a function using the word sub, you don't say what the return type is. Strings and numbers are handled automatically. Perl code tends to be concise and direct. If you're coming from Java, Perl will feel very lightweight. If you're from Python, it'll seem familiar, but a bit closer to how computers think. And if you're from C, you'll appreciate how much gets done with so little syntax. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.